Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today, finally, we got the Elevate in here by Athens. So this is our second Athens bow. I got the Vista 31 last year, which that was the first bow from Athens that I've ever got my hands on, and I was very impressed, let me tell you. And I would say, from the changes that they've made, I think this is Athens, probably one of Athens' most complete bows to date. So if you have not shot at Athens, or you're not familiar with the company, I think it is definitely a company and a bow worth getting your hands on and giving it a shot for yourself. So a couple things about the company, which I absolutely love. Everything's made here in the United States out of New York. A fairly new company, kind of, the owners changed a couple years back, and I think they've worked really, really hard to kind of, get up to speed and start producing bows that would be equivalent to all of the flagship bows that we're seeing. And so I think that's what they have here. The price is right there at $11.99, so it's kind of equivalent to all of the other really nice quality flagship bows that we're seeing. But I think for the package and what you're getting, I think it is well worth it for sure. So first thing that I personally noticed when I got this one, and thank you to Athens for sending me this. I have been dying to get my hands on one, but the first thing I noticed, all of the camos that they have are their own camos. So they have like 5, they're named different things, and they're not that average everyday camo that you see. And they're not the real tree, they're not, especially this one, which is the conifer gray, which is new to this year. I love that they do the color fusion. It kind of creates a little bit more durable finish to those camo and color patterns, and then also the detail on this thing is incredible. I think this color scheme or camo scheme could go with any camo that you're wearing. I feel like this is just kind of a universal, absolutely, I think it's probably one of my favorite camos of the year. So check that out. But they also have other colors and different camo schemes that you can do. You can also mix match the limbs, riser, all that stuff. So you got a 32 inches axle to axle, you got a 96-inch brace height, but this thing is gonna come out at 345 on the IBO. 4.2 pounds is what they claim. When I took it out of the box and you kind of just weigh it immediately, it's more like almost 5 pounds. But again, I know that they dress down some of these things, take the dampeners off to try to get that lower weight. But again, weight to me is all preference, and I don't mind a bow right in between 4.5 and 5 pounds. I think that's perfect, especially if you're whitetail hunting, hanging your bow on a tree and not having to lug it around for long distances. I think a nice stable, or a bow with some nice substance, to me is a little bit more stable than not. So you got 40 through 70 draw weight options with the 65 option thrown in there. These mods, you got 2 different mods on this new Canon mod. Combined, they go from 24.5 out to 30.5. I think this one bottoms out at 26.5. So I got it set at 30. I love the shape of these mods and cams. The other thing that I noticed that I thought was really unique is the thickness and the gauge of the cam and the mod. The mod itself is probably double the thickness of any mod that we're seeing. Okay, and so they kind of double the thickness of that string stop too, which is really nice and wide, a nice big platform to set up on. I think that's going to create a really stable back wall. But the actual mod itself is extremely thick. Same with the cam, just really nice and solid. I love to see that. I think that's probably one of the more durable mods and cam combos that I've seen to date. You have a really big rail on the back side of the cam that just keeps that string nice and tight. I love the whole thing. I love the way it looks. And then with the cam and mod option, you have a 70 to 90 pound let off. And we have talked about this several times, but I think that's one of the things that I love the most about some of these new bows that we're seeing is just this huge range of let off options. And if you really tinker around with it, you will see that, man, the same bow can draw and hold drastically different just by kind of switching up that let off option. The one thing that I will say that I've liked on some of the other bows that we've seen with this amount of let off options that this does not have is those 1/4 inch increments on that draw length. This just goes 1/2 inch increments, but again, I'd rather see the let off options than not. They added some new features. They have the Picatinny rail on top and the integrated rest option on the back, which I love. And we're seeing more and more of that. And I love that. People are just kind of adopting that technology from other companies, but allowing us hunters who like to use the Picatinny rail or have the adapter for their CP sight or whatever they're using, they can just kind of move it from bow to bow to bow, and they have that option. And I think it's a great option. I think the entire idea of inlining all of your accessories is very beneficial for kind of the balancing of your bow. And I like that everybody is just kind of adopting some of those things. Same with the integration on the rest. They have 3 different spots for your stabilizers, which I also love, so everybody can get that custom feel by placing your stabilizers a little bit lower or to the back or whatever you like. Any kind of customization on a bow is so vital to me because all of us have such a different feel. You could have somebody who claims that their bow is the best balance, best feel, and you pick it up and you're like, man, this doesn't feel good to me at all. And I think that's just the difference of hunters, our sizes, our shapes, our preferences, everything. But the more you can customize a bow, I think the better. I love the shape of this riser. It has a really nice reflex to it. It reminds me of the Omnia. I think this thing is gonna shoot, before I kind of make an initial assessment, I think it's gonna be very similar to the Omnia. I think same with Elite Athens. This is kind of the pinnacle of all of their creating of bows and putting out bows. I think this is the pinnacle point, and this is kind of all of their hard work, this is what you're getting right here with the Elevate. They have the really nice limb pockets. They have that hole in the bottom, which I like to see, which prevents those limbs from kind of moving forwards and backwards. I said this with the Vista, but I love these dampening blocks in between. I feel like you can tell by just touching the different materials that like some are definitely going to do a little bit more of a trick than the others. These are nice and solid. I love the shape of them. I think this entire bow is as sleek as you can get. The other thing, there's 2 other things that I noticed right off of the bat. You also have 2 different spots for your quiver. And then the last 2 things, which I love, one is this cable guard, probably one of the nicest on the market. It has kind of a clamping system where you undo that screw at the bottom and you're able to adjust your cables in and out, which kind of helps with tuning. It's kind of a tunable cable guard, and I know we've seen that a couple times, but I like this design. It has some markings on the side, just like we see on almost everything now, but I love this cable guard. And then also my favorite part about the bow, I think, is gonna be this grip. It is just molded perfectly. I love the shape of it. It's nice and slender. It's kind of a hybrid. It's solid on top. It's hollowed out on the bottom. The actual backboard to this thing, like kind of the grip itself, is really nice and sticky. I love the texture, the shape, size, thinness, thickness, everything. It seems to be just, you can tell that they put a lot of energy and effort into that grip. It has a little bitty shelf, kind of arrow shelf that pops up to protect your fingers. I mean, I think it's just a very well made and well thought out grip. And then you have these 1-inch limbs. I think this thing is going to be nice and stable at full draw. We will have to see here in a second. We'll do our single shot assessment inside, and then we'll step outside. It is absolutely beautiful. All of the red buds here in Missouri are in full bloom. Spring is finally upon us. So a couple other things. I got these this Wrath ramrod stabilizer on here, which the bow itself balances really, really nice. Again, the grip, sometimes you pick up a bow and you're like, God, that grip feels so good. This one is just that. So I got it right in the middle. So I got it at 80% let off, which is what I love. But at 80% let off, very smooth transition, a little stiff at the beginning, but man, very linear. Even at 90%, so a lot of the times when I set up a bow at 90% let off, it does want to dump on you. Even at 90%, this was not bad at all. It was kind of incredible, because I always just shoot them at 90 just to see. And it was surprisingly, as smooth as a 90% let off bow could get. And then moving it to 80 was just, it's just from the beginning to the end, it's just one straight effortless pull. And then you got a really nice just touch in the hand, not a ton of vibration for a bow that's getting these speeds. It does balance nice. I love the weight of this. Again, you're all dressed up, you're over 5 pounds, but it just feels really, really good. Nice and solid. You can tell that it's quick. I love the grip. And again, it balances. Yeah, balances nice. Again, you're going to feel a little bit in your hand with a bow that's topping out at 245 on the IBO, but this is right on the softer side of what we're usually getting. Okay, so as we start our freestyle shoot, we'll start over here. We got a bore at 30, a couple bucks at 35. Two other things that I think are really important to mention from Athens as a company. One, save your hunt. This is really cool, and I would love if any of you have used this, offer from Athens, leave it in the comments. Leave us feedback, not just about your experience, but kind of the process at which they do it. If it was worth it, how convenient it was, how fast it happened. But what Athens is offering is that if you're in the field on a hunt, at an outfitter's paid hunt, whatever it may be, they'll send you an Athens bow. The coolest part is you don't even have to be shooting an Athens bow at the time. You could be shooting a Matthews. Something happens, they'll send you an Athens bow and then you return it. They'll send you a return label and you just ship it back. And I think the whole concept of that is they're confident enough to think like, man, let's just get the bow in people's hands. They're gonna love it if they do. I'll tell you what, I do. From the Vista to this one, from never hearing about Athens until I started doing this, then to finally getting a couple in my hands, I think you'll be surprised, nicely surprised. So that's also a really cool thing that they offer. Let's go bore at 30. Something else, lifetime warranty, transferable warranty, which is the most important part. Not just who registers the bow, but if you buy a used Athens bow, lifetime warranty. You can't beat that. That's the best offer you're gonna get from a warranty standpoint. And I think the mindset behind that is they just want every bow that's in the field or in circulation working properly, and they want to get their hands on it. And I think that's a great mindset. I think that's a great offer. So those two things are also really cool that I forgot to mention inside. So let's go buck at 35. This thing is spitting fire. It doesn't even take out to 50 to know. You can tell at 30 yards. I mean, this thing is pumping. All right, let's get over to the other side and we'll shoot some longer range stuff. Definitely favorite part of the review. I will be over here all day shooting this thing. This is kind of that spot for me where I could just sit over here. I could shoot all day. Put some stakes on, do a little grilling, shooting. You guys know how I do, but this is where I promised to shut up and shoot. So we'll do 5-yard increment, 3D targets all up to 50, starting at 20. Let's hit the turkey at 20. The only thing I'm wondering about is the sound, which we'll go inside and do a little test on it here in a little bit. Since we started doing the decibel reading, that's been more and more intriguing to me. I think the speeds are awesome. And I don't think at the distances I would be hunting at, that factors in too much. So it's not something that I factor in when I'm purchasing a bow, but I have liked testing it and kind of seeing where they all lie. Seeing where each bow lies, not companies, because they all claim to be the quietest bows out there. So I'd say for the speeds that this is getting, I wouldn't worry about anything out to 40, 50 yards. So I got a gray wolf at 35. We'll go mama black bear at 40. Now we'll do that full draw stall on Paddington. Couple shots in a bow, you really can't tell. It might feel stiff, but you don't really understand how it's going to kind of wear on you until you kind of keep shooting. But this one definitely is putting a little strain in my back shoulder. It's a really linear pull, but it's a good tough pull. And then I have it on 80. I will mess with it a little bit, but I think if I was to take it into the field, I'd probably put it on 85 just to give a little bit less of a strain and kind of at full draw. But 1 minute. So first 20 seconds fine, and then kind of reaching that halfway point, pins start wanting to move, and they were actually kind of like, you know, where you can tell that I'm kind of having a little bit harder time holding it back. But once you get up to a minute, kind of reset, refocus, you know, you place the best shot you can, but you can really tell how a bow wears on you after a minute. So let me set up and we'll get up on that elk at 50. All right, on to my favorite shots of the day. Got the elk uphill to 50. This thing is spitting fire. Now we'll do the speed test and the sound test. I'm excited for both of these with this bow. We got a 500 grain arrow here. We'll shoot 3 different arrow weighted arrows, 500 grains, a 440 grain, and a 550 grain. So a little bit of variety there. This is the one that we'll use for the speed test. So a 500 grain arrow, 30-inch draw, 70 pounds at 80% let off. Gonna be right in there in the 280s. 278. We'll shoot a couple. Duplicate. 277. So it gets the 7 out of 10 for speed. Again, that is an awesome speed. The other one was a 300 spine. Same insert, same fletching. This one weighs 440 grains. 296, just like I suspected. You drop that arrow weight down, really starts flinging some lighter arrows. Now let's go up to 550. And again, because of the strength I feel like it has, it's not going to drop as drastically as you would suspect. So I'm gonna say 267. 265. That is awesome speeds all around. Let me flip this camera around and we'll get a decibel reading. Oh, for the decibel reading, we have 3 of the exact same arrows. We're shooting back outside the garage. You get the little reader up here so you can see what we're going to use. And then also we got the graph here on the phone, which we can refer back to, which has actually been cool to be able to see the different bows and how they compare to each other. We'll make a little video on some of those graphs, which I think I've loved that aspect, kind of keeping track of everything. So we'll shoot 3 arrows, same specs on everything. 90.3. So definitely on the quieter end of what we've seen, but still right there in the middle. But for the speeds this is getting, I'm not factoring that in. This thing, it would have no problem. 91.5. Let's do one last one. I'd feel comfortable out to 50 with this on a whitetail any day. 89.6. So a little bit of variance in the sound, which we usually haven't seen a ton of, which I don't know why, but right in there in the middle around 90, which is nice. Okay, Athens Elevated. Man, I've been waiting for this knife for so long. I hope you guys enjoyed that. A lot of you have requested this bow, rightfully so. Athens, another one of those companies to me that I just don't have a ton of perspective with, so I love getting their bows in my hands, and I love that I'm more impressed. So I love the Vista. I love this more. I mean, hands down, I would say probably one of the better bows that that company has ever produced. I love the company itself. Very nice people. And that's something else that I've really enjoyed doing this whole Backyard Bows review process, is like dealing with different companies and getting feedback and interaction with people who know what they're doing and talking about, and just learning myself. And that's one of my favorite parts about this. So thank you to the owners and the rep for Athens, just being awesome to deal with. And I look forward to kind of doing more with you guys in the future as you guys produce more and more bows. So first thing, 278, 7 out of 10 on the speed. I wish it would have got a 280, 281, but it lies where it lies. So 7 out of 10 there. Very nice speed though. Don't get me wrong, anywhere in those 280s with that grain arrow is just hot. It almost got 300 feet per second just dropping that arrow weight down, which I feel like that's what I'm going to do this fall. I've kind of fluctuated my arrow weight over the years, but this year I'm going to bump it back down a little bit. So this would just be, I mean, that's pumping. So great score to start with, 7 out of 10 on the speed. I gave it a 9 out of 10 on the durability and quality. And this is only the second bow, aluminum riser bow, that I've given a 9 to. The other was the VTM, but the reason I've done that, two things. These cams and mods are the thickest gauge, widest, most durable cam and mods I think I've ever seen, ever. I love that because that's such an instrumental part to the bow, and I love that you can be reassured that it is just nice and solid. Nothing's gonna warp, bend, get out of place. I mean, I love seeing that. The limb pockets as well. The entire riser of the bow, very clean, very nice. You can just tell that it's just very well made. So I went ahead and gave it the 9 out of 10 on durability and quality. I also gave it a 9 out of 10 on appeal. The conifer grade that we talked about earlier, I love that they've kind of stepped aside from the mainstream of all of the camo colors that we just constantly see, the Sitka Optifade, the Realtree. Not that I don't love them, but I just love that they're coming up with their own stuff. I think that's one of the coolest things ever. And not just that they're venturing out, but like they're coming out with some awesome camo patterns. I mean, this is just, I would take a full head to toe outfit in this conifer gray. I mean, it's slick. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 on that as well. One of my favorite looking bows I've put my hands on this year. Then we jump into technology. I gave it a 7 out of 10 on technology. Again, I'm gonna be a little bit hard on the technology just because it's technology that's new, but it's borrowed. You know, it doesn't mean you're gonna, necessarily gonna bump up your technology grade. I love the Picatinny rail. I love the integrated rest system. I love, the multiple let-off options. I love all of that. I love that you can get a really nice variety of draw lengths down to 24.5 up to 30.5. But again, that's kind of, the bar is being set higher and higher nowadays with the technology aspect. So I gave it a 7 out of 10. I love to see all that stuff. I don't mind that it's borrowed. And then you have the performance. So I shot really well with it, okay? But to be honest, out at 50, I would have to tinker with it more and more and more. I only get these bows for so much time. But out at 50, there was a little bit of instability. And again, out at 50 is where you can tell. If there is, it's out at 50. Now again, I shot really well with it, but I want to say that there was something there that I felt you're kind of having to put some good concentration and effort into it. Some are a little bit easier to shoot, some aren't. Again, this thing was spitting fire. You have a really short brace height, really nice speeds on it. Out to 50, if there's any instability, it will show up a little bit. So I'll say that. So I gave it an 8 out of 10 for the performance. 80, you get your +1 for the makeup point. So we changed that to 0 to 500. You get a makeup 3, 500 to 1,000, makeup 2, 1,000 to 1,500. So it's right in there in the 1,000 to 1,500, which is right in there with all of the other price bows. Flagship bows that we see, you're definitely getting your money's worth here with this. So an 81 overall. Don't get too fixated on the numbers. Again, I'm a numbers guy. I like putting numbers to things, and that's just kind of where the cookie crumbles. It's just where it all kind of falls into place. An 81 out of 100. To me, this is a solid 9 out of 10 bow. I mean, this is just a fantastic whitetail hunting bow. I mean, it just, if I can manage it, I will somehow get this in the field come fall. Make sure, if you haven't already, check out our website, www.backyardbows.com. We got some hats on there. We're going to have some camo hats coming in soon. Get yourself one. Anybody who's bought one, we love the support. We thank you. We appreciate your views following along. If you found anything in this bow review helpful, make sure you like and subscribe. We have so much more to come. Check out some of the other reviews. We're just getting going for 23. Make sure, above all, no matter what you shoot, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're going to review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.